Star Citizen 4.3.1 is dropping the Apollo medical ships, and man, after my last video breaking down all those promising medical gameplay changes, the resource requirements, specialization opportunities, and that whole regeneration crisis storyline, I wanted to dig deeper into these new ships everyone's been waiting for. But here's a reality check nobody seems willing to talk about. While the medical vision sounds incredible on paper, the key support systems these ships actually depend on are still seriously limited. CIG confirmed the Apollo will ship with all 6 modules included, which is great, and developers said they'll make every attempt to restore medical beacons for 4.3.1. That's the same beacon system I discussed being crucial for proper medical gameplay, but they've also just confirmed drones won't be available at launch. Medical contracts remain basically non-existent. So after all that excitement about deeper medical mechanics, we're getting these expensive new ships that might end up being nothing more than glorified respawn points. Here's what you'll learn in the next few minutes. What in 4.3.1 actually matters for medical gameplay, what's still missing and why that matters, and whether you should buy an Apollo right now. But first, let's talk about the foundation that everything else depends on. Medical beacons are where the entire Apollo concept falls apart. The hype train is roaring full steam ahead for these shiny medical ships, but there's this massive problem that makes everything else kind of pointless. The medical beacon system is completely broken. Here's how this is supposed to work. Medical beacons are the backbone of rescue gameplay. You're bleeding out on some godforsaken moon, you send a distress beacon, other players see it pop up, they jump in their ships, fly over, and boom, medical gameplay happens. Without working beacons, rescuers can't find patients, nobody can coordinate during emergencies, and there's basically no point in owning a medical ship. These beacons have been either broken or barely functional for years. CIG completely turned them off in 4.3 because they were spamming mission logs and causing stability issues. John Crew and the dev team say restoring beacons is an absolute top priority, and they're making every attempt to bring them back for 4.3.1. But they're just trying to restore what barely worked before, not roll out some fancy new social or reputation system. Think about what this means practically. You drop hundreds of real dollars on an Apollo expecting to play Space Ambulance, but with broken beacons, medical crews have no reliable way to find patients. You're flying around in this expensive medical ship with absolutely no clue where emergencies are happening. The game world is massive, and medical emergencies aren't common. Without working beacons pointing you toward people who need help, your medical ship is just an overpriced taxi that sometimes carries injured players. This fits a pattern we've seen for years in Star Citizen. They sell ships before the gameplay systems those ships need actually work. They sold mining ships before mining existed. They sold cargo ships before cargo gameplay was a thing. They sold exploration ships when there was nothing to explore. Now they're selling medical ships while the rescue beacon system that makes those ships useful is completely busted. If the beacon disaster wasn't enough, there's another core feature the Apollo was built around that won't be there. Drones aren't shipping with the Apollo, period. CIG confirmed drone functionality won't be there at release, saying it's being developed as part of their base building systems. Yes, the ship will still have a drone bay for, I guess, looking at, but no actual drone gameplay when it launches. These medical drones weren't some minor footnote feature. They were front and center in the marketing. Apollo medical drones were supposed to provide remote retrieval and medical assistance. All the concept art showed these slick little robots flying out to help with battlefield medical situations and delivering supplies to injured players who couldn't be moved right away. The drone bays were supposed to house multiple specialized units to make medical gameplay more dynamic and interesting. But the reality? Those functions aren't ready. They're on the back burner while base building drone work happens elsewhere. People buying Apollo ships now are essentially paying full price for incomplete products, hoping missing features might show up someday. Now, CIG is trying to make up for the missing drones by including all 6 modules, left and right, tier 1, 2, and 3, free with every Apollo variant. They'll even retroactively add them to existing owners' accounts. These are the same bed modules that were originally going to cost extra money on top of the base ship. It's actually a decent bit of compensation from a practical standpoint. You get more flexible bed options without spending extra cash, and can configure your Apollo for different medical scenarios right out of the box. That's a tangible benefit that partially addresses the missing drone capability. But let's call this what it is. The drones that were supposed to give you remote retrieval and extend your ship's range just aren't there. Your Apollo can't send automated help to patients who are far away or in dangerous areas. That remote capability that made the Apollo special compared to other medical ships, gone. What makes this especially frustrating is how it connects to the beacon problem. Even if the drones somehow magically worked perfectly, they still couldn't help with medical missions because the beacon system that guides ships to emergencies is broken. You're missing both the navigation system to find patients and the drone system to help them remotely. So you've got broken beacons and missing drones. But surely the actual medical missions are robust and interesting, right? Not really. Medical mission variety is bare bones, and the current system is shallow as a puddle. If you're expecting a rich medical career with complex emergency scenarios and meaningful patient care decisions, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Here's what medical gameplay has been since around 2021, and it's barely changed. You scan a patient, the game tells you exactly what's wrong, you use the exact item it tells you to use, and that's it. Done. The medical interface shows you exactly what's wrong and exactly what to do. There's no challenge, no room for expertise or skill development. The lack of meaningful triage mechanics is probably the biggest issue. Real medical emergencies require medics to quickly assess multiple patients and decide who needs immediate attention versus who can wait. They have to manage limited supplies and make tough calls about resource allocation. None of that exists in Star Citizen. Every medical interaction follows the same simple process regardless of injury type or severity. NPC medical missions? Extremely limited. You don't get emergency calls for accidents or disasters. There are no scenarios that actually need medical ships with multiple beds and surgical equipment. The few medical adjacent missions that do exist could easily be handled with basic healing items in your backpack. You absolutely don't need a multi-million credit Apollo to handle current medical tasks. There are some hints that more complex systems might be coming. The background research mentions medbed resource canisters in the C-71 medical case. There's a medical recharge station teaser. And developers have talked about regeneration and resource mechanics. These aren't confirmed for 431, but they suggest CIG is thinking about deeper medical systems behind the scenes. The team has also hinted at possible mission types that might work better with dedicated medical ships. Search and rescue operations, transport of delicate medical cargo, and NPC medical missions at Onyx facilities. The new location-based mission pickup system could enable more localized medical content at specific facilities. But this shallow system isn't anywhere near the complex medical career that was promised years ago. CIG talked about detailed injury systems, complex surgical procedures, and meaningful medical decisions. They showed concept art of medical teams working together in dangerous situations. The reality is a basic medical simulator that lacks the depth that other careers have received. The complete absence of emergency scenarios that actually require medical ships is especially frustrating. Where are the multi-casualty incidents, the battlefield medical evacuations, the remote rescue missions that need the range and equipment of dedicated medical vessels? These just don't exist in the current game. This is why critics call the Apollo a glorified respawn point. Without complex medical missions, meaningful triage systems, or challenging diagnostic gameplay, what does a medical ship actually do? It lets injured players respawn a bit faster than normal. You're paying hundreds of dollars for a ship whose main function is skipping a respawn timer.
Yoko order. Watch a year.
Given all these limitations, what exactly is 431 bringing to the table? Here's what 431 actually delivers for medical gameplay. The Onyx Science Wing expands with a deeper Dr. Jarrett narrative and new PvE including AI FPS turrets. Mission pickup on location will allow finding missions when entering specific areas. Apollo ships come with all 6 modules included. The medevac variant has heavier armament per sneak peek images. Medical beacons are being targeted for restoration to their previous functionality. A medical recharge station and C-71 medical case exist in teaser imagery, suggesting resource-based med mechanics. None of this directly addresses the missing drone functionality. Beacons might return, but developers have made it clear they're not pushing major new medical systems in this release. The Onyx facility expansions look cool and add more environmental storytelling, but they don't change how medical gameplay works. You're still using the same basic healing mechanics, just in prettier locations with more detailed equipment displays. The new location-based mission pickup system has potential for medical content, but that's mostly theoretical. In theory, this could create more immersive scenarios where you respond to calls from specific hospitals or research stations, but the actual medical missions will likely be the same basic content we've had for years. AI FPS turrets might indirectly affect medical rescue scenarios. When extracting injured players from hostile areas, having AI turrets shooting at you changes the tactical situation. Medical ships might need fighter escorts or better defensive planning, but this doesn't fix the fundamental problems with medical gameplay, it just adds combat complications to an already limited system. The Apollo variants themselves are launching with their basic capabilities, no drones and limited advanced features. The medevac focuses on patient transport with multiple medical beds and basic treatment facilities. The triage is designed for more advanced procedures with surgical equipment and diagnostic stations. Both ships look impressive with detailed medical interiors, and the free 6-module inclusion provides more flexible loadout options. This brings us to the real Apollo problem. There's a pattern where ships launch before their supporting systems are ready, and the Apollo continues that trend. Developer statements confirm this. Modules are included, drones are deferred, and beacons might be restored to their previous barely functional state. This development approach prioritizes ship releases over gameplay readiness. They create beautiful, detailed vehicles with impressive technical specs, while the core systems that make those vehicles useful remain broken or incomplete. Community members and content creators have raised these concerns repeatedly about ship releases and supporting gameplay not following quickly enough. This creates serious problems for player trust and game progression. When you buy a mining ship, you expect to be able to mine effectively. When you buy a medical ship, you expect medical gameplay to work. When core systems don't function as advertised, it creates a cycle where players feel misled, and CIG has to offer compensation to maintain goodwill. The community's frustration with this ship-first, gameplay-later approach is all over the forums and social media. Medical players complain about buying ships for gameplay that doesn't exist. Players across different professions report similar experiences where they invested in ships before the supporting systems were worth pursuing. What should CIG prioritize to fix this mess? Number 1, get beacons working properly for 4.3.1 since developers say it's a top priority. Number 2, give us a clear drone roadmap that connects to the Apollo's actual use case. Number 3, develop concrete medical missions using the new mission pickup system and Onyx facilities. This turns criticism into an actionable checklist that aligns with what developers have already talked about. Here's the bottom line based on what we know. Apollo ships launch with all modules included, but no drone gameplay. Developers say beacons are a priority for 4.3.1, but aren't promising major redesigns. Meaningful medical missions and deeper triage systems remain future goals rather than 4.3.1 realities. Buy only if you value the ship as a collector's item or roleplay platform or want the modules now. Wait if you need the full remote rescue, drone, and mission experience to justify your purchase. My challenge to CIG is simple. Fix the damn beacons, tell us when drones might actually happen, and give us a clear medical gameplay roadmap. These aren't unreasonable requests. They're the bare minimum players need to make informed decisions about these expensive medical ships. Are you keeping, selling, or trading your Apollo based on the missing drones and the module inclusion? Drop a comment and let me know. And hit subscribe if you want honest breakdowns of how roadmap items actually translate to in-game mechanics. Or don't. I'll be here either way.